Today I want to talk about AB5. I'm chilling at the house in the recliner. Gotta get my truck back, man. My wife out here, she got me working on the property like I'm some flatbed driver or something. I'm like, yo, I'm not used to working this hard no more. Like at one time, like that used to be what I loved to do, right? But you got to wean me back into it. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, let's talk about AB5, the PRO Act, the implications, and how I feel about it. So if you're not familiar with AB5, California's Assembly Bill number 5 passed like late 2019, something like that. Maybe September, October 2019. Went into effect first of the year of last year. And there's still lots of issues with it. So let's get down to it. An explanation, what is AB5? AB5 is essentially a piece of legislation that seeks to redefine what an employee is and what an independent contractor is. The long story short, now understand it's a longer story, and every time you make a long story short, you start missing context and other kind of, keys, details. So understand I'm giving you a long story short, might be missing details. People, when you want to talk about details, comment on it. You know, people love to comment. Long story short is this, that they seek to redefine how you can tell an employee from an independent contractor based on a test, an ABC test. There's 3 questions you ask. First question is the worker able to do their work elsewhere? Can they work for that company, and can they do their work elsewhere? Second question is, the person they are working for, and I'll give you an example when I'm done. The person they are working for, does that person perform a primary function, service to their customer that is different from the one that the independent contractor is performing? And the third question is, does that independent contractor perform those same duties when they are not doing so for said company? Here's an example. Let's say I'm a painter. Company A asked me, hey, will you paint all the Chick-fil-A's in Fayetteville, North Carolina? Okay. So the first question asks, am I free to do so elsewhere? So if company B gives me a call that next day and says, can you paint all the McDonald's in Raleigh, North Carolina, am I able to do that? If I cannot tell company B yes, because company A told me I cannot tell them yes, California AB5 seeks to say that you are then an employee. You're not an independent contractor, because if you are independent, you could tell company B yes as well, right? All right, second question asked, does company A perform any other separate duties, that any primary duties to their customer, any primary service to their customer that is different from the one the independent contractor is doing? So if they ask me to paint all the Chick-fil-A's in Fayetteville, North Carolina, the second question asks, is that all that company A does? Do they just simply paint places for people by way of employees and independent contractors? If so, then I am not really an independent contractor. AB5 states. They state instead, I'm actually an employee because I am performing the primary function of company A. The kind of opposite would be if company A actually sold plants, right, to the Chick-fil-A's in Fayetteville, North Carolina, but then for the year 2022, they state that we will also ensure that your buildings are painted, but we really sell plants. Now, I'm no lawyer, but I'm just trying to give you an example. Then they would hire independent contractors to do that work. Or, if company A actually did construction work, they build stores, right? But they subcontracted out the painting, but they're a construction company, then in that case, I'm an independent contractor doing a job for company A. But if company A simply sells paint, like paint stores, and they have me as an independent contractor painting a store for them, I fail AB5's second question. Now, third question is, do I do this when I'm not with company A? So when I am not working under the contract that I have signed with company A, do I paint stores still, right? And since that question in my case is no, I don't haul freight when I'm not hauling freight for Prime, then indeed I'm not an independent contractor according to AB5, but instead, according to AB5, I'm actually an employee because I only do it when I go to Prime. I can't haul no freight anywhere else, and I am not free to haul freight for other people. Or, excuse me, I can't haul freight for anybody else. Prime hauls freight for a living, and I do not haul freight when I am not at Prime. Okay? That is a summary of AB5. If you didn't catch it because I said it too fast, rewind or something, all right? I don't want to give any more examples. I feel like I've explained it pretty thoroughly. Rewind. You'll get it. What's the implication? The implication is this. As lease operators, we are independent contractors. We've signed a contract to haul freight for Prime. Prime at any point in time can discontinue that contract, that freight service. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So maybe I should rewind for a second, because you heard me say California's Assembly Bill number 5. There is a federal piece of legislation that is currently in the Senate, and it is called the PRO Act. Something right to organize. I can't remember what the P stands for. Something right to organize. And it seeks the same end goal to redefine what an independent contractor is. Now, what's the implication? The implication is this. The implication is that for the lease driver, according to that ABC test that I mentioned, we will fail it. Okay, so if the PRO Act passes, the federal piece of legislation, we're going to fail it. California's kind of like the testing grounds. And then if it passes there, then, the chances increase that it'll pass on a federal level. Now, while this may be good for some people, for some type of independent contractors, it's not good for the trucking industry. It's not good for the independent contractors that are truckers, because many contracts will be forced to end. The only contracts that'll stand are the ones that pass the test. So if I haul freight for, let's say, Amazon doesn't haul freight for a living. So maybe that would pass the test. I'd really have to think about it with the legal portion of my brain, but I'm really not thinking. I didn't, ponder on that prior to making the video. But if I haul freight for, let's say, Sherwin-Williams as an owner-operator, and, my contract doesn't state that I can't haul for anybody else, and indeed I haul freight for other people whenever I'm away from Sherwin-Williams, then in that case, I could legally haul for Sherwin-Williams. However, there are a lot more examples in which this would be devastating for the trucking community than it would really help, right? Than the Sherwin-Williams example. Sherwin-Williams has company drivers. So for the Sherwin-Williams example, there are a lot more examples where it would be devastating. Almost every lease contract that is around these mega carriers, and even not only just mega carriers, but those will cease to exist. They'll all cease to exist because they fail that first portion of the test. Or not the one that states that the company, I think it's the second question, the one that states that the company's primary service that they provide to their customers cannot be the same that the independent contractor provides. So all the trucking companies that have lease walkways, lease purchases, those aren't really independent contractors, is what the law would state, and then we would be in trouble. In California, if you're not aware, California passed the bill, and then they had a bunch of exceptions passed, and then after the exceptions passed, then we had a new administration come in. And please don't come in my comments talking politics. I'm not here to talk politics and choose a side. I'm here to talk about what's happening around us. Okay, so don't come in here talking politics. I'm just going to delete you or something. I'm just going to remove your comment, please. Nevertheless, we had a new administration come in, and then I believe those exceptions were repealed, and now as the bill sits, is being appealed. So it's just crazy. It's kind of crazy. Nevertheless, lease drivers, as you know it, will cease to exist if the PRO Act passes and is not, challenged in the appellate Supreme Court. It's going to change the game drastically. Here's what I think will happen in the future if that was to happen. If that was to happen, a lot of lease drivers, lease operators, and owner operators that are leased on the other trucking companies, they're not just going to become company drivers the very next week. Okay, the majority of us don't want to be company drivers, and it's not about the money solely. Okay, It's not going to happen that way. It's just not going to happen that way. What's going to happen then, within a day, within 24 hours, the nation is going to realize we are now in even deeper demand for truckers than we were last week. The nation's been in a demand for truck drivers for how many decades? Who knows? But if this passes, the demand will sharply rise, and the supply will sharply decline the day it becomes into effect, the day it goes into effect. Sharply. I'm telling you, sharply. Ask anybody who thinks about it, right? What's going to happen, it seems, is that freight rates are going to skyrocket. Okay, we really need this freight moved. So, and there's not enough trucks. Please, anybody, right? Here's another example, okay? You go into New York, you might get a load that pays pretty good going into New York, but once you get into New York, the loads coming out aren't going to pay as great. Why? Because there's a ton of trucks in New York. Dense population density, however you want to say it, right? Because there's so many trucks in New York, and there's more trucks than freight, the freight's going to be lower. Places where there's more freight than trucks, the freight rate's going to be higher, okay? Right now on the West Coast, produce is popping, right? And everybody knows it. And then you got the regular freight on the West Coast. Well, that produce freight rate is usually pretty decent, right? You think freight rates in states like Utah, Idaho, where trucks are not as, readily available and empty, those states usually have a better freight rate than states where the population density is super high as far as the trucks go. Well, the law of supply and demand seems to tell me that if that same thing was to happen with the PRO Act, where now there's a lot more freight than there are trucks, that it's got to follow that freight rate starts skyrocketing. Truck companies are like, well, we really need drivers. CPM starts going up. Employees start, coming in for the CPM. Well, then eventually things are going to balance back out again. This is what I can see. This is what when I think about it, this is what I see. The CPMs are going to start, and CPMs on trucking companies have got to go up because we really want drivers to take care of all this freight. Everybody wants to. If you're a trucking company, you want to get as much freight as you can possibly have. And the more freight you get, the more successful you are as a company. So I see that happening. Will I be dying to go company? Absolutely not. What I'm going to do at the first day, if this was to pass, first day my contract ends, I'm going to go home for about a week and try to figure out a really good plan. I am not looking to go back company. Okay. Now, I'm not the type to doggone, like I said, this isn't a political post. It's not why I came here. I'm not looking to bash any sort of party. I'm not looking to talk politics or I'm just telling you what's happening, what's going on. What can you do? You can contact your legislator who represents you, and you can tell them how this will affect your life if it passes and how bad. I get that it benefits a certain population, a certain type of person, type of worker, but it doesn't benefit everybody. Tell your legislator that. Tell them exceptions need to be made. You don't want to hit the trucking industry like that. I'm telling you, America will learn a really tough lesson if that was to happen. Real tough lesson. Real tough. If you think it's hard to find toilet paper and back to school supplies right now, okay. Nevertheless, my mom used to have this prayer, serenity prayer in the house. I used to read it when I was younger, and as I grew older, the more it meant to me. And still, as I continue to grow, the more that thing means to me. It says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, to change what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? So to change what I can, contact my legislator. If there's a place where I can speak on it. But after I've done all that I can do, accept the things that I cannot change. And if it happens, man, and then I back up and punt, right? Even the life of an owner-operator, it seems like a lot of owner-operators haul freight for other trucking companies because there's an excess of that much freight. Well, all of that will stop. I mean, it would really just change the game. It would really change the game a lot. It really changed the game. It seems like you're either going to be company or full owner-op. And even if you're full owner-op, you're going to have to haul freight for places that do not haul freight for a living. You really have to hunt for freight. you'd really have to hunt for freight. For those who are hauling freight for trucking companies, you'd really have to hunt for freight. Seems the brokerage business would change. I don't know enough about it, but what I do know, it seems like that business would change. So I don't know. Look, all I can say is contact your local legislator, okay? Contact your state legislator. Contact the people who represent you. Send them an email, type a letter, you know, and beyond that, you know, just kind of consider your plan B. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go home for a week and I'm going to try to figure it out, okay? That's all I got. I mean, other than that, maybe I drive locally to see what happens nationwide, right? I'm just not dying to be a company driver. I'm really not. And I planned on doing a video. I know I did one that posted Monday, but I plan on doing another video as well. Like why I just cannot go company again unless it was an absolute necessity. Why I just can't do it. And it's nothing against company drivers, just Travis. It's just Travis. So anyways, look, that's AB5 in the PRO Act. You can Google it. You can research everything that I've said just now. Contact your legislators. And we're just going to hope like it doesn't affect the trucking industry like that, because I'm happy with what I'm doing. Happy with my job. I'm happy with my contract. You know, I'm satisfied right now. So anyways, you already know what the business is. This is your boy Travis Kinley checking out. I love y'all. Find you somebody to love. Don't forget, it's not about what you believe, it's why you believe it. And live free.